Hey guys, Mr. Ridgway here for our next lesson in our nation state study, and today we're going to be looking at the uh, basically the idea of nationhood for Israel, and then also the ideas about nationhood and statehood also for Israel and Palestine. So we are going to be indeed talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and then things like the Arab-Israeli war and things like that. There's a warm-up here on Pear Deck, and I'm going to ask you about how prepared you're feeling for finals. So just kind of getting that prepped in the back of your mind. It says here, just drag the icon to which face answers the statement. Do you know how to prep for a final in order to do well on it? And we will be kind of dissecting on how to do that and how to process those and deconstruct a final and think about how to best prep and good practices, all that sort of stuff in the coming weeks. Now, you definitely will want to utilize Pear Deck today because, as you can see there, we've got a lot to do. We only, unfortunately, for this lesson, have a single day to look at the Palestinian, Israeli, and also Arab conflict and how that's kind of changed and morphed over time. So we are going to be moving quickly, but then also I've done my best as possible with this lesson to break down whatever we're going to talk about. As you can see, we'll look here at some of these things, at ideas in a very hopefully tangible way, so that you can walk away understanding what's important and hopefully not getting overwhelmed. So let's break down what our objectives are here. First, summarize the history of how and why Arabs, Palestine, and Israel have had different versions of claim to what is traditionally called the Holy Land. And then we're going to also look at how nationalism helped develop the nation of Palestine and the state of Israel. We'll get to that here in a second. And then we're going to look at barriers to what is now commonly called the two-state solution. Now, you're going to notice off the bat when we get here into the mini lesson, this is going to be very strange. And that is because there's so much in this topic and content that I've cut this lesson up in a very unusual way. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what this mini lesson is going to do, but because of copyright infringement and things with YouTube, because there's a lot of videos that are featured in this, I'm not actually going to be able to do the mini lesson with you here. What I will tell you is just kind of like how to do it, and then again, what we're hoping to aim to get out of this. So we're going to be looking at, for example, is compromise between two sides always possible? And then, of course, what influence do outside powers play in the role of nations becoming states? Which, again, we'll get into all that. Now, why this lesson is really unusual? Well, this lesson, because this topic is so immensely complicated, how we get to the point of there being an Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and how does that, how does it change from being an Arab-Israeli conflict to then one more focused on the Palestinians? It's an incredibly intricate process, and so I decided to do this one very differently from what I've done in the past. And that is, I took a really, really good quality YouTube video that Vox has provided, and I've cut it up into about minute-long snippets. And it's about a 10-minute video. So there's going to be roughly about, give or take, 10 slides worth of content. But I've tried to make it in these incredibly digestible microbytes. So, and again, I'll show you here. You can see that we have a video clip. Now, again, I can't play this for you because of copyright infringement. But then, like on a following slide, it says, oh, on Pear Deck, summarize 2 things you learned. And you'll go ahead and do that here. Same thing on the next one. There's another short 1-minute clip. And then it says, now, use Pear Deck like digital notes, like a digital notes page, complete each box using text. And so what will happen is when you get done with this mini lesson, I will publish it to you, and what will happen is that any notations that you take on your Pear Deck session, I will send them to your Google Drive, and this will create like a digital notes page that you can take with you, and you'll have it after this. So that's kind of the point of this. Because I'm not going to have, again, the ability to go through this with you because we can't watch the videos on here together, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to skip to like what we're going to be doing next. So if you go on here, slide 28 is where we pick up on the next part of the lesson. We're going to do a brain break after doing that very long mini lesson there. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to process all this new knowledge that we've gained. And so, because as it says here, the history of the Arab-Israeli-Palestinian conflict is so complex, it's especially important that we take something that we've learned and then we meaningfully process and practice it so that we can remember it meaningfully in the future. And so there's two different challenges typically that you might have with this. The first is like the actual what of what you just learned. Okay, so that's kind of like your base level. You need to actually know like what happened with what the heck we just learned in those videos. And then second, if you've got that, then it comes down to you need to have a general knowledge of the order of events that happened in the whole Palestinian Arab-Israeli conflict. And so if you're going with option one, you need further assistance on what's going to help you with the what of understanding what the heck just happened. You're going to be making your own vocab matrix. You'll do that here in class. Shouldn't take you too long because we've had practice with these in the past. Just remember, you make one of these, but the tool is only as good as you actually make use of it, right? So if you are struggling with understanding the mini lesson that we just did, this tool, making a vocab matrix, won't do you any good if you don't actually utilize it. Now, then when you're done with that, you go on to the rest of the lesson. If you're like option two, yes, you're going to make an order up game. And so again, it's only as helpful as you use it there. Now, you're not going to be turning those in because the thing that we're going to end with is actually exploring the barriers to what's called the two-state solution, which is the most commonly global community acknowledged long-term fix to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And so right over here, there is our virtual museum that we're going to explore. I will show you where that is. And then right here, there is a worksheet that you're going to fill out. So the digital museum, it's right here. You've seen this before. You navigate around. Okay, all the things you click will take you to different things to watch and interact with. The key here is that you only need to check out 3 of the 7 galleries. You do not need to do all of them, and please don't. That's a lot of work. So what you're going to then do here on the worksheet, once you make a copy of it, and I will go ahead and do that myself, is you are going to take our museum tickets here, and they'll load up here in just a second, and you're going to summarize, so you're going to type in what the gallery name was that you looked at, the particular issue, the barrier to that two-state solution. You're going to summarize what it was, and then tell us, like, very explicitly, explain it to us. How is that a barrier to a two-state solution? So, for example, if you look at water, you're going to summarize what the current water crisis is for places like Gaza and the West Bank and Israel and the conflicts over water, and then tell us how is that particular a barrier to the two-state solution? Like, what is it, what happens with that? You do that for 3 galleries, and then right here it says, putting it all together, out of the 3 issues you explored, which do you believe is the most difficult one to solve? Why? Okay, and then you'll turn this into me for credit. So that's, again, I know today has been a lot, and thank you for kind of parsing through it with me, and I will see you next lesson in Yugoslavia. Bye-bye.